he could be speaking to the city of Cleveland as if to say, don't blame me for this one. That is the man that gave Deshaun Watson guaranteed $230 million, which right now is going down as arguably the worst.
Well, I think that's really more of an Andrew question, okay? But I think, what was that pick, 146? We thought he was good value at 140.
That's so much of what happened to Shedeur Sanders at draft day to drop to the 144th pick, a fifth rounder, when initially he was projected to be a top 2 or 3 quarterback taken in the draft. For all of that to happen to him, that was a slight, those were people that were hell bent on making sure that Deion Sanders didn't get his way. And they went and they punished his son to punish him.
Stephen A. Smith did not hold back today, absolutely tearing into Cleveland Browns owner Jimmy Haslam for his comments about Shedeur Sanders. He called him a coward and made it clear that Haslam's attempt to shift blame was nothing more than a weak, desperate move to cover up his own mistakes. Stephen said that Haslam was trying to dodge the fact that he didn't draft Shedeur. But it got worse. Stephen wasn't done, not by a long shot. He went on to say something that sent shockwaves through the sports world. According to Stephen A., this man, Jimmy Haslam, was one of the key figures who made sure Shedeur Sanders fell to the 5th round, and he did it with a purpose. It wasn't just about the draft, it was about sending a message to Deion Sanders, and they hurt Deion by hurting his son.
And that had a lot to do with it. It was personal, and it wasn't some collusion that was going on. They didn't have to, because universally they felt, they watched the interviews, they saw the way Deion Sanders was speaking or whatever, and that's what broke his heart. I'm telling you what I know. It broke his heart because he knew there's no way that his son was going to fall to a 5th round.
Stephen A. Smith didn't pull any punches as he broke down the entire situation, calling out the calculated narrative that had been spread about Shedeur Sanders. He pointed out how the media worked overtime to twist the narrative around Shedeur's interviews, his performances, and his character, strategically positioning him in a way that would make him fall down the draft board. Stephen made it clear that this wasn't some accidental slip-up. It wasn't about football. It was personal. The goal was to send a message to Deion Sanders, and the strategy was simple: hurt Deion by targeting his son. There was no logical reason for a talent like Shedeur Sanders to fall all the way to the 5th round, except for the fact that some people in the league were determined to make sure he did. Stephen A. Smith didn't let Jimmy Haslam off the hook after his statement about not thinking of signing Shedeur Sanders while driving back. Stephen made it crystal clear this wasn't just a random comment, it was part of a bigger plan to make sure Shedeur didn't get the opportunity he deserved. According to Stephen, Haslam and others weren't just playing the draft game, they were actively working against Shedeur, ensuring that he did not get signed. Stephen laid it out for everyone, saying, "You were not going to let it happen," and he wasn't wrong. The Browns owner's comments only confirmed the underlying truth that certain people had no interest in giving Shedeur Sanders a fair shot. It was about more than just football. It was about power moves, influence, and control.
We understand what's going on here. That's why Haslam was in his car on a Friday talking about, I can't see it happening, because they weren't going to let it happen.
On the other hand, Mad Dog was quick to jump to Jimmy Haslam's defense, throwing cold water on the entire debate. He dismissed the notion that Shedeur Sanders' draft position even mattered, claiming that no one in the league cared whether he was picked in the 1st or 5th round. Mad Dog made his point clear. Shedeur Sanders is going to have the chance to prove himself no matter when or where he was selected. To back it up, he pointed to the careers of Tom Brady and Joe Montana, both Hall of Famers who were drafted far lower than expected, yet went on to become legends in the NFL. For Mad Dog, the message was simple. It doesn't matter when you're drafted. It's about what you do with the opportunity once you're on the field. He argued there was no lobbying against Shedeur Sanders from NFL teams, and if he earned the starting job, then he'd get it, regardless of where he was picked.
First off, who cares what round he's drafted in now? Unitas was cut went to the Colts, best quarterback
Not
ever.
now.
Brady was a 5th or a 6th round pick. Who cares? He's one of the greatest quarterbacks. Montana wasn't a 1st round pick. Shedeur Sanders right now has ample opportunity on a team that has no quarterback, that has a great history, that needs a quarterback in the worst way. And if he's good, and if he earns the job, he's going to get the job.
Louis Riddick wasn't having any of it. He cut Mad Dog off right there, making it clear that Shedeur Sanders was not being given the opportunity he deserved, and he wasn't about to let the narrative slip by unnoticed. Riddick outright rejected the claim that Shedeur was getting an equal shot, calling it for what it was: a blatant misrepresentation of the situation. He pointed out a key detail that Mad Dog had overlooked. Shedeur Sanders didn't even let his father come to training camp because of how poorly he was being treated, getting just 4 reps a day. Louis flat out asked, "Is that fair?" Louis Riddick wasn't done yet. He went all in against Mad Dog's claim, pointing out that while Shedeur Sanders would get the chance to play in the preseason, the real issue was the lack of reps he was getting with the team. Riddick made it clear that despite the opportunities to step onto the field, Shedeur would have to be extraordinary in those limited moments because he wasn't being given enough time or resources to build chemistry with the team.
The people who are going to play get. Now, that doesn't mean he's not going to play in the preseason. He is, but he's not getting the reps in practice. So what really is happening is he's going to have to be like spectacular in the preseason games, okay? Because he's not getting the reps right now to practice the things he's going to do in the preseason game.
Louis Riddick wasn't pulling any punches, making it clear that players drafted this low, like Shedeur Sanders, typically don't make it to the first team unless they have someone advocating for them, someone willing to fight for their opportunity. Riddick's frustration boiled over when he pointed out that it's still unclear who was even responsible for bringing Shedeur's name up for signing in the first place. That uncertainty, in his eyes, put Shedeur at an even greater disadvantage. He also laid down a harsh reality about the NFL system. There's no pure meritocracy. Riddick admitted he'd seen players who were clearly better than others get completely ignored by coaches simply because the coaches didn't want them or didn't have a personal connection with them.
If you don't have someone who's strongly advocating for you, don't tell me that the NFL is it's just a meritocracy and the best players play. BS, it's not the case. Okay, I've seen players, I've been in personnel meetings where people are getting killed who coaches just don't want. And they may be better than the people who are playing ahead of them. I've seen it happen.
Stephen A. Smith didn't hold back, diving deep into the uncomfortable truth of the situation. He made it clear that what happened to Shedeur Sanders wasn't just about football. It was about something much larger. He pointed out the glaring double standard when it comes to how players are treated based on race. Stephen highlighted that players like Eli Manning and others who had previously declined to join the NFL or didn't face the same scrutiny were excused, yet for Shedeur, it had become an unbelievable issue. Stephen A. Smith didn't back down, even as he addressed Mad Dog directly, making it clear that while Doggy was entitled to his own analysis and perspective, there was a deeper reality that couldn't be ignored. He stated that yes, Mad Dog could look at this situation through the lens of an analyst, but that didn't change the fact that Shedeur Sanders was wronged, and no amount of analysis could whitewash that truth. Stephen didn't just stop at the football side of things, he drove the point home that, as black men, they had the right to view this through their own lens, one shaped by their lived experiences and the historical context that colored how black athletes were treated in the NFL.
Know that his father and the vitriol that he invites by his haters assisted in that happening to him, that resonates with us. That doesn't make you wrong, Doggy. I'm simply saying you are entitled to look at it your way, and I'm entitled to look at it my way.
In the end, Stephen A. Smith, Louis Riddick, and Mad Dog all laid out their points, each offering their own perspective on Shedeur Sanders' journey and the roadblocks he's faced. But what this entire conversation revealed is something far more significant than football. It's about how race, power, and opportunity intersect in ways that can't be ignored. Whether you see it as a matter of merit, politics, or systemic inequality, the truth remains. Shedeur Sanders has been wronged, and the narrative surrounding his draft experience speaks to a deeper issue in the NFL. At the core of it all, Stephen A. made it clear, this isn't just about Shedeur Sanders' potential or talent. This is about how black athletes, especially black quarterbacks, are treated and viewed in ways that others are not. While analysts like Mad Dog may focus on the technicalities of the game, those who live this experience see the bigger picture, and that picture is one of injustice, bias, and an unequal playing field. The road ahead for Shedeur will undoubtedly be challenging, but as Riddick pointed out, the talent is undeniable. Still, as Stephen A. rightly emphasized, the fight for respect, fairness, and equal opportunity is far from over. The question now is whether the NFL, its coaches, and its owners will finally acknowledge this reality and give Shedeur, and others like him, the fair shot they truly deserve. Until then, the debate will rage on. But for those who see the truth, one thing is clear: the system needs to change, and it needs to change now. What do you think, though? Is Shedeur Sanders' draft experience a reflection of the larger issues in the NFL? Or is it just a case of bad luck and missed opportunities? Do you believe race plays a role in how black quarterbacks are treated compared to their white counterparts? Or is this just another example of a flawed system where performance should be the only thing that matters? Let us know what you think, because this conversation isn't just about one player, it's about a much bigger problem that needs to be addressed.